Up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Sound Money Podcast. And if you guys are tuning in on YouTube, welcome to the channel. Don't forget to smash that like button to help the channel grow a little bit. And also, I'm going to be linking to my course in the description below that I just released about buying and selling websites. That's what I do as a hobby. It's a lot of fun. I've spoken on panels around the United States about it, and it's a lot of fun. So the link to that will be in the description below. Using coupon code INVEST10 or INVEST25, more that's actually a better one because that's 25% off. If you use that code now, you'll get 25% off of the course to support the channel, the podcast, and just overall content in general coming from me here. So today I want to go over what marijuana brought in millions to different states. So this was on the tail end of what we saw last night, which if you guys are in the East Coast of the United States, it was at 9 p.m., but it was the Democratic debate. And the Democratic debate had quite a few candidates up there. Andrew Yang was one of them. As you guys know, I'm a fan of Yang. I know Tulsi Gabbard was up there, and obviously your heavy hitters with the older generations like your Bernies and your Elizabeth Warren and your Joe Bidens. So it was fun listening to them go back and forth. A lot of attacking each other, which I think is not necessarily getting to the issues, but they were kind of saying the same thing, not agreeing or not saying anything concrete, which is always sort of an issue with me with watching debates like that where there's nothing actually in stone. Like when they say, my first day in office, I'm going to do this. My first week, I'm going to do this. And it just doesn't play out like that. There are a lot of promises that people say in politics to get things done in terms of for themselves to gain some power. But I found that it's pretty difficult to believe a lot of the stuff. So I like seeing statistics and facts, and that's one of the reasons why I was drawn to, things that Cory Booker was saying, things that Tulsi Gabbard was saying, things that Andrew Yang is always saying. He's always driven by facts, which I like. But in terms of the medical marijuana piece currently, and then also the legal marijuana piece in a few states, Cory Booker went after Joe Biden last night, which I thought was quite entertaining because he literally said, you still call marijuana a gateway drug. I thought that you were high when you said that, and that was like a mic drop moment for everybody because it was a lot of fun to watch that little quarrel happen because you're talking about somebody. Joe Biden is just so out of touch with where things are right now. I think I saw that 65 plus voters were putting him at over like 50% of the vote, which or like 44% or some crazy number like that, because they just love the old Joe Biden. But he's said things so many times that lost credibility with the younger generation, where he was like, "Best thing you can do for kids, take them home and put the record player on." And he's just difficult to listen to because he's forgetting things, saying things all over the place, left and right. I can definitely sympathize with somebody for a couple missteps here and there, but every time, I think last night he also said something that he helped the first black woman get onto the Senate, and that was literally Kamala Harris, who's standing right next to him. She was like, "What?" So if you guys are new to the channel, I don't always talk about politics, but when things happen in that realm, they are very heavily reliant on the economy, and I talk a lot about the economy on the Sound Money podcast. And one of my favorite topics that people bring up all the time in the comments is about both medical and recreational marijuana. We moved from California to Florida. Florida here is actually working on the medicinal side of things. Like there's opening dispensaries all over the place here in Tampa and outside surrounding areas. And it is a very interesting time for medical marijuana with such an aging population. Boomers are getting much older now, and they're all interested in experimenting with it because they grew up in that generation where it was like, not good before things were being engineered like medical marijuana has been. So I want to go through 5 states. 5 states that have they've estimated their tax revenue for 2018. So this was last year, and this is in millions. So Washington State in the Pacific Northwest brought in 319 million in tax revenues alone from marijuana. That's recreational use. So that is the number 1 slot. And then the number 2 slot is California with 300 million even in taxes being brought in. And this goes to your social, your environmental, your school systems, your education system, stuff like that. It's redistributed into the economy there once you get that into the system. In third, we have the king, pretty much, which is Colorado. They were the first movers, as everybody knows. They had 266.6 million. And I'm going to be linking to this Forbes article that just came out this year below, so you guys can get a chance to see what I'm looking at right now. And in fourth place, we have Oregon with 94.4 million in tax revenue from marijuana. And once again, I think it's important to mention that only 3 of these have recreational. So I'm not sure if Oregon is recreational. I probably should have looked that up before this, but if you guys know, leave a comment below. But also, it's very important to know that these are brand new. Like, this is a brand new movement. And 20 years from now, people are going to look back and be like, wow, they actually were restricting this more intensely than tobacco. That doesn't make any sense. But it's just fascinating to see these numbers in their infancy, because this is going to get huge as more states start not only decriminalizing, of course not decriminalizing, it already is pretty much decriminalized, but it is going to open up just the floodgates to entrepreneurs everywhere, businesses everywhere. And I've met so many entrepreneurs in the space, and they're all amazing, amazing operators. I met a guy at a conference I was at in LA a couple weeks ago, and he had a cannabis store, and everything was $4.20. So it started with everything was $4.20. I believe it was called Everything 420, and it was a really funny kind of gimmick for selling paraphernalia in the space for people with anonymous boxes or just plain boxes that show up so that no one knows that you're ordering these things off of the internet. But really great idea, Everything 420. And after a while, he figured out, okay, if I add a number in front of it, I can make more money. So now things are like $14.20, $74.20, $100 or $104.20. So it was it's just that good old American. Well, I think he was actually from Tel Aviv, so good old entrepreneur drive there. So the last and most certainly not least is Nevada, and Nevada had $69.8 million that brought in tax revenues in 2018, and these are estimated figures. And then, of course, you have smaller ones after that are Alaska with 11 million and Massachusetts with 5 million. And those are because they're brand new. They're just right out of the package in getting marijuana legal. And actually, sorry to scale back, but this is recreational marijuana. I just went through real quick, scrolled around here while I was talking. An estimated 2018 revenue in states where recreational marijuana use is legal. So this is all recreational, and it's crazy to think that. And this was brought up by Cory Booker last night, where he said that it's basically the privileged people are getting access to recreational marijuana, and there's still people incarcerated for marijuana-based crimes, or crimes in quotes, which is just really, it makes your stomach kind of hurt when you think about that, because the idea that people are massively incarcerated for this plant that is legal in other states, that people are actually actively selling, actively using, legally entirely in the state, it just really makes you feel kind of angry and frustrated and things like that. But nevertheless, when it does go federally all across the board, I know that there's multiple bills being pushed forward now in Congress, I believe, about federal, because it's just been so long. I mean, ever since I was a kid, I remember hearing about potentially making it federally legal and allowing people to use it throughout the United States. And one of the things that Yang brought up last night in the debate was that, or I don't know if it was in the debate, it was a clip right before the debate came out of him saying, when you get these tax revenues, like for example, 319 million in Washington and 300 million in California, with that level of tax revenue, with any sort of unidentified health risk to date that we know that it's not as lethal as something like alcohol, you can use some of that tax revenue to offset and treat any issues that pop up. You could put out of that 300 million, you could allocate 10% of that to helping people that struggle with, lung issues with it or something like that. I'm not sure even if there are actual health related issues with marijuana. I haven't heard of any other than just lung issues for people that are smoking it. But I do think that using that concept in your head of thinking, all right, if we are making income or revenue, we can use some of that to help support in business. We could help support our customers, but in a state, in theory, they are similar to customers, but you could help support them if there was any issues that popped up from your product that you're making legal. And not only would this alleviate all of those people that are just sitting in prison for doing marijuana related crimes all over the United States, and now it's legal in these states. Not only would they be set free and be able to live their life again, hopefully they get some sort of payment for just literally wasting their life for something like this that's legal now. And I thought that once the first state was recreationally legal, like when Colorado was recreationally legal, I was like, wow, they need to let everybody out. Then when California and Washington State, when all of these started going recreational, I was like, this is wild that there are still people sitting in these prisons for marijuana charges. Like, that's crazy. If you think about that, the logic there is completely flawed. That if they just moved to one of those states, they'd be fine. Like, they can't even go to the prisons in those states because it's illegal. They'd be illegally sitting in there. So it is a touchy subject for a lot of people, and I like talking about touchy subjects on here specifically because it is an open forum. I love talking to listeners and viewers about these types of topics, especially when it comes to different generational views with marijuana. I know older generations currently, there is a stigma attached to it, and younger generations are just growing up with medical and recreational marijuana. So it's not that the stigma is slowly going away in terms of a negative stigma around it being like a gateway drug, like Biden was talking about last night. That is just so outdated. It's unreal that is actually happening. It's still being talked about. But that's kind of my overview here on the marijuana tax revenues being brought in millions. Hope you guys like it. And wants to review: Washington, 300 million, California, 300 million, Colorado, 266 million, Oregon, 94 million, and Nevada, 69 million in tax revenues in 2018. And those are being reinvested into school systems, education, your traffic, your roads, all that. It's being reinvested into social investments and things like that in the state to help. And that is a winning scenario massively from a government perspective. So that is it for this episode. I hope you guys like it. If you did, don't forget to slap a like. It helps the channel if you do like it. So please smack a like, and don't forget to subscribe. And as I said before, invest 25 in the course link below to check out my new content that I've been working on for months now. And let me know what you guys think about it in the comment section. And that is it for this episode. I will see you guys on the next